What's up, everybody? This is the Below Average Brothers podcast. I am Bryson. I am the one of the three hosts. I'm a college student at Rogers State University. I'm going to introduce you all to the next brother. His name is Ross.
I'm Ross, Connor, aka Ross. I'm currently a high school student, and the third member of our podcast is Jax.
Jack's the cousin of the brothers, and currently just whipping the lift at your local Lowe's.
All right, this podcast here is just a couple of guys cutting it up about sports. We've been talking about sports our whole lives. I'm 21. My little brother Ross is 16, about to turn 17 in about a week. And Jax is he's 20, so we're all around the same age. We just like cutting it up about sports. We thought putting it on the airwaves would be a good idea. So let's get right into it. First thing we're going to talk about is the college football weekend. We are from Oklahoma, so you got a Sooner here. Went to school at OU for a while. Two people on the other side of these mics are Cowboys fans.
Folks, baby.
So we're going to start today with the Sooners. Ugly 16-13 win over the West Virginia Mountaineers. It was pretty bad. And at points during the game, we seen boos of Spencer Rattler after a first half interception. And we seen Caleb Williams chance for the first time this year. What do y'all think about the future of the Sooners? Will Rattler remain the starter, or will we see Caleb Williams?
I think the boos were, you've seen how Rattler's played so far. Yeah, absolutely. You've seen how he's played so far coming into the season, projected number 1 overall pick, trying to follow in the footsteps of, Kyler, Jalen, and he's absolutely deuced the bed, as you'd say. I mean, dude has not played well, and you got Caleb Williams backing him up, who's the number 1 dual threat coming in previous class. So, I think it's well-deserved.
I think it is too, and it's crazy to think just a couple years ago, Jalen Hurts was getting booed for Spencer Rattler to come in, which Jalen did have a successful season that year, losing in the Final Four of the college football playoff. But I think Lincoln Riley will keep him in. I don't think Spencer's too much of. I think he'll stay in, but we'll see.
Yeah, to piggyback off of what Ross said, in my time at OU, I seen Jalen get booed not only for Spencer Rattler but for Tanner Mordecai. It's just a thing, I think. At OU is they expect the best because they've had the best. They've had
exactly
2 straight Heisman winning quarterbacks in Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray. So when somebody comes in and underperforms, why would they accept that? They've seen definitely. Quarterbacks break records year after year. So why would they accept anything less?
Video game type like offenses, and then now you're scoring 16 points against a very mediocre West Virginia team. It's completely. I get it.
We're talking about teams that break yard per play record, that break quarterback rating record. Like you're talking about quarterbacks that are. We'll talk about the NFL later, but Baker and Kyler and Jalen Hurts, they've got
3 starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
Exactly, and all pretty good starters.
Yeah, there's not a team. There's not even really hardly a conference that can say that they've got 3 starting quarterbacks in the NFL, let alone 1 school. So, and the thing is Caleb Williams is good. So it's not like it's not deserved. Like everybody knows that Caleb Williams is the number 1 recruit, but so is Spencer Rattler. These guys are both great football players. In my opinion, the NIL has not helped Spencer Rattler, along with a lot of other college students.
No, I don't think it has at all.
They see green, they see money, and right now, you look at a lot of the top guys, Kayvon Thibodeau, Spencer Rattler, a lot of these guys that are getting big money, they're not performing.
Underperforming, absolutely.
They're not performing as well as they thought they should, and that's big. So, with that said, talking about our first college football game of the year, is Oklahoma a contender or a pretender? We'll get into that game, starting with their in-state rival, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Contender or pretender? Ross.
I definitely believe they're a pretender. As an Oklahoma State fan coming into the year, we lost multiple seniors, including, Tylan Wallace, just a bunch of great players. I had high hopes, but Spencer Rattler, when you go, 1 for 7 into the half at Boise State. How do you expect to win ball games? I think our OC is one of the worst OCs in college football.
Yeah, I second that.
I can consistently call the play on 2 or 3 out of the 4 downs in their games.
Jax, what do you think?
All right, I'm gonna get some crazy looks. I know I am. I'm a Pokes fan, but I'm gonna go Contender solely based off of how weak the Big 12 is this year. Big 12 does not look strong. Oh, come on now. You had to hit me with it. Big 12 has not looked strong. OU and Texas. I mean, Texas already, we've seen what they did at Arkansas or against Arkansas. I mean, it was just rough. And OU's looking weak. I mean, the only other undefeated team left is Baylor. And Baylor came in, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're projected second to last in the Big 12 ahead of Kansas alone.
Hey, and you get in this weekend, you get to test it out.
That's what I'm saying.
If 19th ranked Oklahoma State,
exactly.
21st ranked Baylor, we get to see,
I'm saying, I mean, defense, we returned almost all 11 starters. Defenses looked very solid through these weeks. Offense has struggled at times, but they seemed to put together pretty much a full game last week. Kind of struggled in the second half at times, but Jaylen Warren, man, he's for real. I'm telling you, Jaylen Warren's for real. He's a good back. I'm telling you.
I agree with Ross here. I think the Cowpokes are a pretender, just based off of their quarterback play. Spencer Sanders is bad. He had extremely high expectations coming in. He was the other Spencer to Spencer Rattler. Everybody thought Spencer Sanders was going to be the quarterback for OSU. They had Mason Rudolph for a long time, and they kind of had some bad years in between then. But I think they're a pretender just because their quarterback play is not good. But I agree with you. If they can get the run game going in this weak Big 12, they could run the table. Big 12's bad.
I mean, just Big 12's very bad this year.
The Big 12's bad.
It's a down year.
If Oklahoma doesn't turn it on, I could easily see. I believe that game's in Stillwater. I could easily believe. I could see OSU beating OU in that game, and that could very well be the game to send somebody to the Big 12 championship. Winner goes, loser stays home.
To be fair, I think Oklahoma State to have a shot of getting in, they'd have to run the table. They have to go 12-0. In the Big 12 championship.
I think any Big 12 team.
Just because
the way the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, it's looked very weak.
The Big 12 is very weak. The Pac-12 is very weak. I will get into our college football playoff rankings later, but I think 2 SEC teams are going to get in. So that leaves 2 spots for the 3 remaining conferences. And Oregon's looked really good.
Yeah.
OU is not. And I think a undefeated Big 12 team would lose out in a chance to get in the playoff to a 1-loss Ohio State. So we'll see how that goes. But next up on Contender or Pretender, we've got the 5th ranked team in the country, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Jax, Contender, Pretender, the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Really watched a lot of Hawkeye football, not gonna lie to you.
Who does watch the Hawkeyes?
I mean, who really? A boring brand of football, man. Defense, smash mouth football. You know how they play. But I'm gonna say Pretender just because, I mean, Ohio State still exists. Penn State still exists. So I'm just gonna go Pretender on that one. Michigan still exists. Michigan State's looked fairly well. I'm gonna go Pretender on that one, man.
I don't know if you said Penn State, but Penn State still exists.
Yeah,
Penn State's a good Big Ten team.
Yeah. I'd have to piggyback off Jax. Spencer Petras, he's a decent quarterback, but when you play in that style of offense and that style of that conference, I mean, you got to have good O-line and good running backs. And being at 5, that's highly ranked. Like he was saying, a lot of good teams in the Big Ten. They face Maryland this week, which has been a pretty good team, undefeated. Talia Tagovailoa. Is he gonna, this will be a good test for Iowa this week, but I would have to definitely say Pretender.
I agree. Pretender. It's that style of football doesn't win in today's day and age. You've got to be able to put up points, and they do play good defense. They play sound defense, and they play very technically sound on the offensive side of the football as well. But when it comes to playing Ohio State or Penn State, you're gonna have to score the football, and I don't think Iowa can do it. I don't think they're good enough at the quarterback position. Just like I talked about with Oklahoma State, I don't think Iowa is good enough at the quarterback position. And in today's day and age of college football, if you don't have a good quarterback, you can't win big games.
Yeah.
Next up is probably the biggest game of the weekend and our biggest team in contender or pretender. Woo Pig Suey, the Arkansas Razorbacks. What do you think, Jax?
I'm gonna go. I mean, I like the Hogs, man. I love the Hogs, but I'm gonna go pretender just because it's who they got this week. Ole Miss. They got Ole Miss.
They got Georgia.
Yeah,
Georgia.
I got them getting obliterated by Georgia this week, man. I just don't think they're gonna hold up to that. I think it's like a 4-game span. They got like top 25 teams the next 4 weeks, man. That's gonna be hard to escape, So I think they're gonna drop 2, at least 1 in this up 4-game span. I'm just gonna go pretender on that one, man, just because SEC is tough.
Yeah, that stretch that he's talking about is actually it's a 3-game stretch. It's at Georgia, at Ole Miss, and at home against Auburn. All three of those teams are ranked.
Last week they did have a big win though of that 4-game stand.
Yeah, they did beat Texas A&M. Texas A&M could very well be in this game. Or what I mean, is Texas A&M really good? It feels like they had Kellen Mond for felt like 6 or 7 years playing quarterback for him. So, and he's gone and they're trying to replace him. I mean, 20-10, that's a low scoring affair. Are they going to be able to beat, and Georgia has the best defense in the country. So it's going to be a test. It's going to be a test on the road in Athens. College game day is there. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and say, pretender. I think they lose the next 2. I think they lose to Georgia, and I think they lose to Ole Miss. So I'm saying pretender. Not that Arkansas has been a laughing stock for a long time, and they're on the way up with Sam Pittman as their head coach. But too early, still a pretender to me. Win some games in the SEC and prove me wrong.
Yeah, definitely agree. Not much more to be said than that. KJ Jefferson, Arkansas's quarterback this week, going to have a tough test against that Georgia D, and it's going to be a tough 2 weeks, I definitely say. But definitely a pretender.
Our next game in contender versus pretender is Notre Dame versus Cincinnati. Is Notre Dame a contender or a pretender, Ross?
I would definitely say pretender. They had a close call in overtime against an 0-4 Florida State team. I think, Notre Dame has been historically overrated. Notre Dame has never proved to me that they are a legit football program. They never play tough opponents, being in a non-conference. They just don't play good teams.
I'm gonna ask you guys a secondary question real quick. Is this a bigger win for Notre Dame or for Cincinnati?
Cincy for sure, man.
Yeah, I would definitely say Cincinnati.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, if Cincinnati wins this game, they're ranked 7th in the country. I think a win over Notre Dame could easily put them in the conversation.
Oh yeah,
to be in the college football playoff. Because
I mean,
all you ever hear about these mid-level conferences is they don't play anybody. Well, Cincinnati's going out and they're playing somebody. So if they win this game, it gives them a chance to go make the college football playoff, which is something we haven't seen from a Group of 5 conference. Jax, what do you think? Notre Dame contender, pretender?
I'm going to second Ross on that. I'm going to go pretender. Ever in my lifespan, they've never proved to me that they're a legit football program under Brian Kelly. I'm pretty sure Brian Kelly, right?
Yeah, Brian Kelly.
Not a fan of him, man. They don't show up in big games. You see what they did when they did sneak into the playoffs a few years back and got obliterated by Bama, I think. Or was it Clemson? It was Clemson in the
They've lost big multiple times.
Yeah,
multiple times.
Yeah, man. And I mean, they like to second Ross. I mean, the Wisconsin game, they ended up blowing them out, but up until a big kickoff return momentum change, it was 13-13 midway through the 4th, man.
And Wisconsin's not a good football team.
Not at all. So I'm going pretender, man. They haven't even looked very good this year. I'm not going to lie to you.
I'm also going pretender. I mean, this is an easy one. Notre Dame is bad. They're not bad, but they're not a good football team. They're not a great football team. They're going to be in the conversation for a college football playoff because they don't play anybody. They're an independent that gets to make their own schedule. And yes, I get they play ACC teams, they play Big Ten teams, they play Pac-12 teams, but they play the bad ones. They don't play the Ohio States. They don't play the Oregons. They go and they reach the bottom of the totem pole and they play USC and they play Michigan, who is not very good most of the time. So I definitely think Notre Dame's a pretender. And the last time Notre Dame did anything of relevance, it was a fake girlfriend by Manti Te'o. So
Yeah.
what can we
Voss
trust? What can we
move.
trust by them to ever do anything productive? I think this next game and next team in Contender versus Pretender is probably the most shocking to me. The Ole Miss Rebels, led by Matt Corral, however you say his name.
Corral, I believe.
I believe it is Corral. What do you? I mean, they play Alabama this week. We're gonna get to see right now whether they're Contender or Pretender. If they can keep this game within 2 touchdowns, it would change my mind about them heavily. But Ross, Contender or Pretender?
I love Lane Kiffin and that offense. Matt Corral, throwing a bunch of touchdowns, looking swaggy with it. But I definitely would say after this week, they're going to be a pretender. I just don't know how they're going to come away with even being in 2 touchdowns with Bryce Young and that offense. Nick Saban does a great job, especially with former coaches. I think they're just going to dominate this week, but I definitely have to go with pretender.
Jax, go ahead. What do you think about Contender or Pretender?
I'm going to go Pretender as well. I mean, I think if Ole Miss is in a different conference, man, they're contenders, but it's just hard. Bama and Georgia have looked so good this year. Georgia's defenses look stellar. I'm going to have to go Pretender just because of Bama and Georgia are still in the SEC. You know what I'm saying?
And Florida.
Exactly.
And Florida looked good
exactly.
against Bama. Yeah,
exactly.
There's 3 teams ahead of.
I'm going to make a hot take right here. I think Florida might be the 3rd best team in the country with a 2-point loss to Alabama.
Yeah.
Is anybody else going to keep it within a touchdown this year other than Georgia?
Yeah.
Georgia, I think is a really good team. Georgia, I think
their
like
defense
is really good.
It's one of the best SEC defenses I think I've seen in a while.
They're grown men. I think all 11 of those guys might play in the league one day. They'll be playing on Sundays. Speaking of Georgia, we're going to go back to that week 1 matchup of who they played in Clemson. Guys, what's wrong with Clemson? What has happened? It's a fall from grace.
It's looked rough, man. I think it starts with DJ. DJ had so much hype coming in the year, man. I was a big DJ fan. Keeping up with QB1, he takes at St. John Bosco takes the dude's spot in QB1. I was a big DJ fan. Reminded me of Cam, a younger Cam, but he just does not look good, man. Hasn't really shown his flashes of athleticism. He likes to sit in the pocket. I mean, and he just hasn't looked good, man. I think it starts with DJ. I think you need a QB1 change.
Yeah, he's definitely, I mean, he came in with a bunch of hype. Last year he had to play 2 different games for Trevor Lawrence while he was out with COVID. And his first game was a dud. He went to South Bend and South Bend beat him, and he looked awful. He looked awful last year. And, this year they thought, well, he's the starting quarterback. He had spring training under his belt. And he had a chance. No, it was his team now. Trevor Lawrence was gone. And he went out in week 1 and he looked like he was seeing ghosts, as Sam Darnold once said. He looked terrible. I mean, he looked like he didn't even belong out there. He looked like he was still the backup. Yeah. And I get Georgia's defense is very good, but you can't follow that loss up with a loss to NC State. I mean, you got to blow NC State out every time you play them. And a loss to NC State, especially a low-scoring loss like it was, I agree with you, Jax. I thought he was a great quarterback, and he hasn't proved to be even a first-round quarterback.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Definitely. No, yeah. I mean, just going off y'all. I mean, who do you put the blame on? Do you put it on DJ or do you go to Dabo? I mean, or even the defense with Venables. But I truly think it is the quarterback. I mean, when you have such great quarterbacks coming through that system, I mean, you start with Taj Boyd and then Deshaun and then Kelly Bryant.
You've had a lot of
you've had good, and then Trevor. Through. I mean, they've had success throughout the years, so it's like you can consistently count on the quarterback, and they've consistently been good. But this year, I mean, it's been proven that DJ is not the guy.
Yeah, and you talked about the defense, and week 1 they lost 10-3. That's a great defensive performance. I mean, the only score of the game was a pick six.
Offense, that's good.
The only score of the game was a Georgia pick 6. They didn't even allow a touchdown.
Yeah,
and it makes it very difficult to try and think that it's not on the quarterback.
I think
The defense. I mean, you get, what was the score to that game? 20-17 that they lost to NC State or something like that.
Something like that. It was something like that.
And how do you? I mean, your defense only allows 20 points. 20 points is pretty low scoring in a college football
game.
You know,
definitely.
How can you not go score more than 17 points on NC State? So it's definitely, in my opinion, I don't know if it's for sure on Dabo. I think Dabo's kind of gotten a big head and kind of lost his focus maybe a little bit with all of this COVID stuff. And he was really against the NIL. So maybe that's one reason he's not as well. But I think it's on DJ for sure.
I think I was watching the game last week and the commentators mentioning something about they have that new running back, the Swift kid. I think he's actually pretty good, but they're saying something about him being like he went down last week with an injury, and they said that's a tough loss. Him being one of the bigger leaders on the team, I think that may be an issue, man. You lose leadership, big thing. T-Law and ETN, them two dudes are, I guarantee it, they're locker room warriors, man. So I think someone in that locker room needs to step up. And if a freshman's doing it, I mean, come on now, that should be on QB1. I mean, I guess that falls back on QB1. DJ needs to take that leadership role, man, and rally his troops.
Him, and I also think, Justin Ross. Dude's been there a long time.
Forever.
He's been there a long time. He's been there, I think, through Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. He knows what a good quarterback looks like, and he should be right there with DJ. Just lighting the torch for these guys, lead them into battle. And I don't think he is. I think he may be one of those guys that's just quiet and leads by example. But man, this team right now, they need a fire lit under them bad in a bad way. In a bad way. From Clemson, a team that normally would be a lock for the college football playoff, right? They're always in the college football playoff. We're gonna make some predictions here. I know we're a few weeks in, but this is our first episode. We're gonna go with our top 4 teams we think are gonna make the playoff, and our first 2 out. All right, Jax, I'm gonna let you start.
All right,
we're gonna start at number 6 and work our way up to 1. Who you got?
Right now, man, I got the first out, Cincy, just because, I mean, I think I could see them dropping this one in Notre Dame. I don't know how for real they are. I mean, we'll see. But also to the conference I play in, man. If they come out undefeated, then I'll give them a chance. But if you drop one in that conference, the conference play, man, that just doesn't look good on playoff resume. And then 5, I got Iowa. I mean, Iowa's looked good thus far, but I mean, we'll see. And then last in, I got Penn State. I got Penn State winning the Big Ten, honestly. I think they'll top Ohio State, or they'll win the Big Ten and maybe get in. And then 3, Oregon. Pac-12 looks weak. They run the table. That's a surefire. They're in. And then 2 and 1, 2, Georgia. I think they'll drop to Bama, but I mean, I think they'll be a 1 loss. No, it don't matter. Yeah. SEC so tough. You know what I'm saying? And then Bama at 1. You can't go wrong with Bama, man. Put my life savings on them making it, guaranteed. Nick Saban, 100%. I mean, that dude's different.
I put all the money I ever make on the Crimson Tide, and I hate the Crimson Tide.
Oh yeah,
but they're the best team in college football, and there's no doubt about it. No, I think they're going to be the number 1 team in all 3 of our predictions. I'll let Ross go. Who you got at 6, Ross?
Yeah, my number 6 is definitely the Oklahoma Sooners.
Also, Jax, you left them out. They aren't even in the top 6 teams in the country.
I think they run the table, but I think just the weak Big 12, I think
what do you mean? I got a question. I'm going to question. What do you mean by run the table? Are we talking undefeated run the table? You saying they're going to leave a 12-0 big or 13-0 Big 12 champion OU Sooners out? Is that what you're saying?
I think they'll leave a 13-0 Big 12 championship out.
Wow.
Number 5, Ross, who you got?
I got Cincy.
Bearcats, first team out.
I think they'll get a big win this week against Notre Dame, and then I think it's smooth sailing from here on out. They're in a weak conference, but they have proven themselves consistently to be a good team recently, and I think this
still
will be
not
the
enough
year.
To get in.
I don't think so. I truly don't. I don't think they'll prove themselves that much compared to these other 4 teams coming up next.
I agree with you. All right. Who you got in at 4?
Number 4, I got Penn State.
Nittany Lions.
Yeah, going with same as Jax here. I think they'll dominate the rest of the Big Ten. I truly do. I don't think they'll lose another game, but we'll see.
All right. Number 3.
Number 3, I got the Oregon Ducks. With such a weak Pac-12, I don't see them losing another game. And then with that big win against Ohio State early in the year, I don't see how they'll be left out.
I agree. I think Oregon gets in. The Pac-12's bad, but it's Oregon. They have the chance to lose one that they never should.
Exactly.
But number 2, I think we all know who it is.
Number 2, I got the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia, man, it's hard for these 1 and 2 teams. I mean, they'll play each other, but Georgia's defense, man, they're grown men, like they said. I believe Vanderbilt's coach said they're literally just full of 5-star D1 athletes. Every single position is just athletic and big and fast and strong, and you can't beat that.
Number 1 team.
Number 1 team, I got the Alabama Crimson Tide. Like Jack said, how can you go against Nick Saban, the godfather of college football? I don't think – I mean, Jack's went a little far with the betting his life savings. I don't have much in my life savings, but I still wouldn't do that just because college football is so unpredictable. But I don't think anyone will beat Alabama.
When I think about Alabama, I think about how for the last 10 years they''ve been able to win national championship after national championship with bad quarterback play, with terrible quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
They've never. I mean, they won championships with AJ McCarron and Jake Coker. And
I mean, that's enough in itself.
And Greg McElroy.
Yeah.
They won national championships with these guys that couldn't throw the ball in a bucket. Couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. And now they've got kids decommitting from USC to come play quarterback at the University of Alabama. I don't think we're going to see this run end anytime soon if they keep getting these kind of guys, because I mean, Bryce Young is a freak. The dude is a stud. Tua was a great quarterback. Jalen Hurts was a good quarterback. I mean, if he can do it with those guys, he can do it with this.
And they've got weapons now. They've got weapons all over the field, man.
Yeah. Is Mechie still there?
John Mechie's still there, man.
John Mechie is, his feet are basically on fire at all times. Yeah. That dude is fast.
He can move.
And that's what's crazy talking about the whole Alabama and Clemson thing is like Clemson has struggled this year, but with Nick Saban's system, you don't have to have a good quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like Bryce Young is a stud. Bryce Young is a stud, but they don't need him. In all honesty, they got weapons all over the field.
Yeah.
I mean, let's think. They won last year with the guy. I don't know about y'all, but I don't think Mac Jones is a very good quarterback. And I know he went 15th overall to the Patriots, and Bill Belichick may make him look like a good quarterback, but I don't think he's that good. But when you're throwing it to the Heisman Trophy winner, Devontae Smith, first-round draft pick, I know he's hurt most of the year, and Jalen Waddle, but, I mean, you're throwing to some dudes that can fly. I mean, you're throwing to some freaks, and that don't change none. They still got John Mechie. They still got other guys out there, Alabama's going to be Alabama for as long as Nick Saban sits in that coach's office, because he's the recruiting king, and it's not changing anytime soon.
Yeah.
With that being said, I'm going to get into my top 6. At number 6, I know I called him a fraud earlier. I know I called him a pretender, but I think Notre Dame wins on Saturday, and I think that they are number 6. Looking out. My 5th-ranked team in the country at the end of the season, y'all made great points. I almost put them in, but Penn State, I got them looking right outside. I got Penn State. I do have them winning the Big Ten. I have them losing and winning the Big Ten, but still not enough to get in. So my 5th-ranked team, the Penn State Nittany Lions. Number 4, I've got Oregon. The Oregon Ducks, like y'all said, I think they're going to run the table. I think I don't see them losing to anybody. I think the Pac-12 championship is going to be a cakewalk. So Mario Cristobal has done a great job as the head coach at Oregon. He's really turned them around after I don't remember who their head coach was, but when they were really good with Marcus Mariota and all them guys, they really had a few bad years, and Cristobal's turning it around. And I think they get in. I think they get in for the first time since the inaugural playoff when they played Jameis Winston. My 3rd-ranked team, my homer pick, the Oklahoma Sooners.
I hate to see it.
As bad as they've looked, the Big 12 is terrible. They're bad. The Big 12 is really, really bad. We'll see next weekend when they go down to Dallas and they play Texas. No matter what the teams look like, it's always a close game. No matter who's better than the other, it's always a good game. And Texas has looked really good with Skylar Thompson under center. They looked bad against Arkansas, but that wasn't Skylar Thompson. Skylar Thompson came in since then. Or Casey Thompson. My bad. I'm thinking of the
Kansas State
quarterback. Casey Thompson. Since he has been playing quarterback for Texas, they've looked really good.
Yeah,
they looked really good.
They dropped 70 points last week.
Yeah, they looked really good in the
6 total tutters.
6 total touchdowns.
Yeah. And he played last year in the playoff or in the bowl game, and he looked really good then. So I don't know why he didn't come in as the starter, but I think he's pretty much cemented himself as the Longhorn starter. My second ranked team, the Georgia Bulldogs. Like Ross said about the Vanderbilt guy, the Vanderbilt coach said that they have 1 million 5-star guys on the sideline. Every single player on their team is a 5-star recruit. Georgia could be the best team in the country if JT Daniels plays well that day. Their defense is going to be there every single game. Their defense is going to be there. If JT Daniels plays, like JT Daniels can up to his top level, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But his ceiling is really high, but his floor is very low. JT Daniels can be a very bad quarterback, and we've seen it quite a bit in his Georgia career. But if he plays up to snuff, they're the second best team in the country, and I don't think anybody but Alabama can beat them. Number one, most obvious pick of the day, the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think we've probably done enough talking about Alabama. So we're going to go ahead and skip over to the big guys on Sundays. All right, we're going to jump into the NFL weekend. Our first topic of the NFL is we've got some 3-0 teams. We've got 5 teams left that are undefeated. We've got the Denver Broncos, the Arizona Cardinals, the Carolina Panthers, the Oakland Raiders, and the Los Angeles Rams. We are going to talk about how good are these 3-0 teams. You see teams like the Broncos, the Panthers, the Raiders. Nobody expected any of those 3 teams to be 3-0 at this point in the season. So I'll start off here. I think that the Cardinals and the Rams are legit. I think that they're both really good football teams led by really good quarterbacks. I think that, once again, maybe a little bit biased here because of Kyler Murray and the Oklahoma connection, but I think he's one of the best 5 quarterbacks in the league. I think that
absolutely,
especially you add guys like DeAndre Hopkins last year in the offseason. And then this year they go out and they draft Rondale Moore. I think he may be the steal of the draft.
AJ Green's in addition.
Yeah, AJ Green and AJ Green might be old, but that dude still got hands. That dude can still run a route.
And on that defense, JJ Watt.
They had JJ Watt on the defense, and Chandler Jones comes back. The dude had 5 sacks in week 1. The dude's a freak. Okay. So the Cardinals are 100% legit. Kyler Murray is an MVP candidate. I have no doubt in my mind that they are going to be very, very good. The issue there is another one of these 3-0 teams. The Rams are in their division, along with some teams we're going to talk about later, the Seahawks and possibly the 49ers. That's the best division.
That's the best division in football.
There's no doubt about it. They've got 3 of the best quarterbacks in football. Matthew Stafford for the Rams is a dude. He is for real. There's no doubt about it. He makes the Rams go in a way that Jared Goff could never make the Rams go.
He's the answer.
He is 100% the answer. I agree, Jax. And the Rams, you know what? We're going to get to see it this week. Cardinals, Rams. We're going to get to see how good. I think everybody knows that the Rams are for real. The Rams just beat the Bucs. That's a really good win. To beat Tom Brady at home or on the road, that's a big win. That's a really, really good win. And so everybody thinks that the Rams are legit. The Cardinals, I think they're legit, but I think there are a lot of people that that don't think that they are for real. Man, then you talk about those other three. You talk about the Broncos and the Panthers, man. The Broncos are 3-0, but the combined records of the teams they have played is 0-9. They have played the Jets, who have they played? They played the Jets, the Jags, and the Giants, I believe, are their 3 wins.
Yeah. Not good wins.
The Jets might be the worst football team in the history of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
They're terrible. The Giants, they're not a bad football team. They've kind of caught some bad breaks, but they're not anything to write home about. They're not very good. And obviously the Jags, they're the Jags. They're not very good. The Raiders, I'm on the fence about the Raiders. Derek Carr.
The Raiders are definitely questionable for me.
Yeah,
I definitely say.
Yeah, Ross, go there. If you got
yeah, no,
the Raiders, go ahead.
Raiders are definitely, watching the Raiders play the Ravens in week 2. That was an interesting game for sure. Some people say the Ravens should have won, but the Raiders stuck through and pulled it off. Derek Carr, when you look at these 3 teams, other than the Rams and Cardinals, the Broncos, Panthers, and Raiders, the 2 other quarterbacks in those systems are first time in that system. I mean, you look at Teddy B and you look at Sam Darnold. I mean, Sam Darnold did have Adam Gase as a head coach in New York, which he might be the worst head coach of all time.
Agreed.
But I mean, I think Derek Carr is legit. I really do.
I like Derek Carr as well.
I think Derek Carr. I mean, people forget that just a few years ago, before breaking his leg, Derek Carr was an MVP candidate and was more than likely going to win the MVP. He was for real, and I think they've got one of those types of dudes at tight end and Darren Waller that come.
He's special, man.
Once in a lifetime, And there's 3 of them right now. I know you say once in a lifetime, and then I followed up with saying there's 3 of them, but man, Kittle, Kelsey, and Waller, they're on a level of their own at the tight end position. They're really good. And
they're revolutionizing the position for sure.
They're receivers in a 6'6", 250 frame. That's what they are.
Exactly. And with the Raiders, you got Darren Waller just cutting up the middle of the field all the time. But then you can't forget they've got Henry Ruggs, one of the fastest dudes in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I know when they played the Steelers, he put the nail in the coffin, on a fourth down or a 3rd and long, 3rd and 9, I think. And they just bust the top off with a 65-yard, 70-yard bomb to put the dagger in. And so I think, like I said, I think the Cardinals and the Rams 100%, they are legit. The Broncos and the Panthers, I'm not in yet. The Raiders, I'm halfway in the boat.
Yeah, I think you can't compare to the Raiders to the Broncos or Panthers. I think if you have to compare them, you definitely have to compare them to the Rams or the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed.
Upper echelon teams.
Agreed. And I don't think the Raiders are there yet.
No.
We'll see. The Raiders have to play the Chiefs at some point. The Chiefs have looked down. And speaking of the Chiefs, there have been some teams this year so far that have not lived up to expectations. So we got a little segment here about the below 500 teams that we think will have the best chance to turn it around. And some of those teams are, the Steelers are 1-2, the football team, the Bears, the Colts, the Chiefs. The Colts are 0-3, actually. The Chiefs are 1-2. The Patriots are 1-2. The Dolphins, who everybody thought the Dolphins would have a breakout year with Tua in his second year, finally is out from underneath Ryan Fitzpatrick. They thought that maybe he was, finally going to break out and the Dolphins are going to make the playoffs. The Seahawks are 1-2. The Vikings are 1-2 with a big win over the Seahawks. They could have easily been 0-3. And the Eagles are 1-2 with a bad loss to Dallas on Monday night. So
blowout.
Yeah, a blowout. A 20-point loss, and Jalen Hurts throws a pick 6 to the Diggs kid. That's a really bad loss. I get it's in Dallas, but still, you think that I picked the Eagles to win. I thought that they would have beat Dallas on the road because I thought Jalen Hurts was that good. But
yeah,
as he said, you take a deuce, you don't look at it, you flush it down, and you let it go.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Jax, go ahead.
Yeah, speaking on the below 500 teams, I think are going to turn around. I think the only right answer is the Chiefs, man. Just because I got a guy for you named Patrick Mahomes. Dude can ball. Dude is a legit baller.
Agreed.
And he's got weapons around him, man. Tyreek. I don't think he's the best receiver in the league, but I think you have to game plan the hardest against Tyreek, man. You always have to have someone over the top.
You have to have double coverage.
Exactly, man, because he
100%.
can blow the top off at any time.
And then you get
I
in
mean,
double coverage, and there's this man named Travis Kelce
yeah,
who's going to
exactly.
kill you
Who's
every
going to
single time.
bully safeties? No one can guard him. Bully linebackers. Can't keep up with him. Bully
And if
DBs.
Josh Gordon can stay off the weed, he
he
was
just got
signed by the
signed
Chiefs.
recently.
So
Yeah, and he's a baller.
He's
I mean,
With also a dynamic running back out of the backfield, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, that kid's a
great
stud
receiving back.
out of LSU.
Great pass catcher. Great pass catcher.
I think the only right answer, though, man, is the Chiefs. I think Chiefs are going to turn around and do what the Chiefs have done in the last 2 years.
I think the only other right answer in that would definitely be the Seahawks. But going back to, I mean, that's just a great division.
It's tough.
I mean, that's the best division in football. So they started off not the best, but we'll see if they can turn it around.
Man, you guys obviously great. I agree 100%. The Seahawks, Russell Wilson's going to get them turned back around, in my opinion. The Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes is a dude. He's a baller. There's nothing else you can say about it. I think the Vikings. I think the Vikings can turn it around. I think that they obviously the Bears. Nobody knows what Matt Nagy's doing right now with Justin Fields and Andy Dalton. The Lions are bad. It's just a fact. The Lions aren't very good.
Yeah.
So it's Minnesota and it's Green Bay. And even though Minnesota is 1-2, they're still only one game back, with Green Bay being 2-1. So I think if Kirk Cousins plays the way that he just played against Seattle and the way he played, the Vikings should be 2-1. You know, they missed that field goal against Arizona to win the game, a short chip shot to win the game. So Minnesota should be 2-1, but I think they have a fantastic chance to turn this thing around, and if not win the division, then at least make the wild card. Because I think, Dalvin Cook in the backfield,
big time playmakers all over the offense, man, all over the field.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson, Jay Jettis, that's a dude. That's a real one right there. He's a freak. Adam Thielen, one of the best route runners in the league, some of the best hands in the league. Like, can't go wrong with that guy. And then, they got this guy, Tyler Conklin, who's kind of coming out of nowhere playing tight end for him, and he's catching touchdowns left and right. Like, every time you see the dude, he's in the end zone. So I think the Vikings will turn it back around. Kind of piggyback off this segment, we're going to go right into our NFL power rankings. We've each put together our top 5 teams in the league as it sets right now. And I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to Ross to let him go first.
Yeah, so to list my top 5, at number 5, I do have the Las Vegas Raiders. And like we said, in the best 3-0 segment, the Vegas Raiders, they kind of got this weird edge to them. John Gruden, the coach. I love Gruden as a coach, but I think Derek Carr's legit, and I think they get a great offense. And if that defense can hold up, they're legit. My number 4 team is the Dallas Cowboys.
Terrible.
I like that pick. I like that pick.
The boys, I hate them, but man, Dax looked impressive, I'd say. But who's really impressed me this year, and it doesn't surprise me, is CD Lamb. Dude is a freak.
I like how they're using him too, man.
Yeah.
Moving him all around. He's coming out of the backfield. It's
definitely.
Hey Ross, how about that catch radius?
Catch radius. I mean, as the announcers used to say, in college, dude's got the best catch radius in college, but dude's a freak for sure. My number 3 pick is the Cardinals. Now their OU guy, Kyler Murray. I mean, the dude might be 5'2.5", but he can run all over you and he can sure sling it. They got weapons on the outside. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, Christian Kirk.
The addition of James Conner in the backfield along with Chase Edmonds.
Too.
They've got the perfect 1-2 punch of speedy and shifty plus a power back. I really like that.
Yeah, it's tough. And that defense is tough with JJ and, the kid from Clemson. But I definitely like Arizona. My number 2 pick is the Bucks. I know they just had a loss against, which will be my number 1 team, but I mean, you can't go against Tom. He's the GOAT. Hate to say it, 7 rings. Bruce Arians will get that team turned back around quick. I don't see him losing more than 1 or 2 games this year. They're just great all around. My number one team, like I just said, is the Los Angeles Rams. Coming off a great week, man. They look dominant against the Bucs. They dominated on all aspects of the game. Matthew Stafford coming from Detroit, he's just different. He didn't have much of a option. He had Megatron back in the early days, but he hasn't had anyone good since.
He got out at just the right time. The Detroit Lions are known for destroying careers.
Yeah, I love the Rams for sure. They're my number one team.
Really good football team. They're in my top 5. They are a really, really good football team with 2 of the best defensive players in Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. They're good. Jax, let's hear your top 5.
Coming in at 5, man, I got the Kansas City Chiefs. I know they've had a rough start. Close loss to Baltimore. Pretty close loss to San Diego or Los Angeles now, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyways, I got them turning it around quick, man. Like I said, Patrick Mahomes, he's just too much firepower on that offense. I see him clicking, getting it together. I got them at 5. Coming in at 4, I got the boys, Dallas. They just look sharp, man. Dak's bounced back from the injury very well.
Dak looks better now than he does. Dak looks better now than he did before the injury. He looks so clean.
He looks sharp, man. He looks sharp. He's still not real mobile. You can tell he kind of gingers around, but he's looked sharp. They got playmakers all over the field, man. I think you can't go. You can't go wrong with them.
He came into the year with that shoulder injury, and I haven't seen it yet. He's looked completely sharp, clean, man, since day one. Yeah, I like that.
And then coming in at 3, I got the defending champs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady. Can't argue with Tom Brady, man. Tom Brady. That's all I got to say.
That's all you got to say.
That's all I got to say. Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's all you got to say.
And second best team in the league. Big fan. Didn't like him in college. Cards. Kyler Murray. Big fan of Kyler, man. Putting up MVP type numbers already. He's my early MVP favorite. So exciting to watch, man. Just makes grown men look silly week after week.
Agreed.
And then I'm gonna go with Ross in number 1. Rams, man. Got the Rams at my 1. Just good all around the field, like you said. Probably the 2 best defensive players in the league, in my opinion. And in perfect position, one on D line and one in the secondary.
Yeah.
And
guys that can take over the game. Guys that Jalen Ramsey can shut down, and he's a follower. He can shut down your best player for an entire game.
Follow him all night.
And Aaron Donald can completely destroy your run game by
wreak
himself.
Havoc up front. Yep.
Yeah.
Matt Stafford's looked sharp, man. Cooper Kupp, dude, picked him up in fantasy like 4th or 5th round. Putting up numbers, 30 a week. He's having a ridiculous season. I just think there's too much firepower.
Their 3rd or 4th wide receiver is Deshaun Jackson, who was one of the best receivers in his prime. He's still got speed. He's still good for 90.
Can I ask a question? Is Deshaun Jackson's address behind the secondary? Is that where that man lives? Because the dude is behind the secondary. Every time I look up
constantly
my TV screen,
constantly,
that dude.
He's still a baller, man.
Number 1, I didn't know he played for the Rams. I thought he had retired about 4 years ago. But I looked up week 1, and he's behind the secondary, just chilling. I guess that's where he lives. But man, they're really good. And just wait till Robert Woods wakes up. He has done nothing.
He was their number 1 coming into the year, and he hasn't done anything.
Through a few weeks, he hasn't done anything. But man, Cooper Kupp, like you said, that dude is balling. They still got Tyler Higbee too. That's a good tight end, and they haven't really used him either. But I think the Rams are good. I got the Rams in my top 5 as well. Speaking of my top 5, number 5, the GOAT, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Tom Brady. I got him this low because the dude's got to age at some point, right? He's 44. And the thing is, he said he wants to play till he's 50, and it wouldn't surprise me. But I just think that there are some teams this year that have reloaded and can beat the Bucs just like the Rams did on Sunday. So I got the Bucs number 5. Number 4, I got a team that neither one of y'all talked about, and I think they've got the baddest man on the planet at quarterback, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers week 1 looked like he looked terrible.
Yeah,
he was awful. He was awful. You know, they got beat 35-0 by Jameis and the Saints. And ever since then, he has been clean as a whistle. The dude hasn't missed a throw. He's complete. That comeback on Sunday Night Football. I mean, 37 seconds left, no timeouts, like the 30-yard line. That's stupid. Like there's only a handful of quarterbacks in this league that can do that, and Aaron Rodgers is right there at the top of that list. Devontae Adams, he's one of the best receivers in the league. I think that's pretty no doubt. Like, that dude's a freak. There's nothing you can do to guard him. He's the best over the middle. He's the best deep route runner. He's the best short route runner. Like, he's just a great wide receiver. And their defense, their defense gets slept on at times because they allow big plays. But, man, their defense is pretty solid. I mean, Jair Alexander is one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Like, the dude's a baller. He's locked down, are they the Smith brothers, Preston and Zadarius Smith up front?
Yeah,
they're really
solid
good
too, man. They can get after a quarterback.
They're really good. So I think the Packers, a lot of people wrote them off after that 35-0 loss in week 1, but man, they looked good in week 2 against the Lions. They definitely looked good in week 3 against the Niners. So I got them at number 4. Number 3, I've also got the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray's got this team right now firing on all cylinders. On offense, the defense in week 1, they shut down Derrick Henry. And I didn't think that was possible. Derrick Henry looked like your average typical running back. And then you see the last 2 weeks, he's running it 30 times a game for almost 200 yards and a couple tutties. I mean, he is going off. And the Cards made him look like just any Joe Blow off the street. Their defense, man, Chandler Jones, Buda Baker.
Yeah, I think their defense is a sleeper, man. I mean, they're solid up front. They have a solid secondary. You got Isaiah Simmons roaming all over the field, man.
And Buda Baker's one of the best safeties.
Yeah.
And then, then you flip the ball, it to the other side.
I mean, that's a tough team, dude. That's a tough team.
And the thing is, they're perfect balance. They got speed with Rondale Moore. They got pass catchers. They got AJ Green, who's just a great route runner. Throw it up, get him the ball. And then they got DeAndre Hopkins, who can do it all. He's fast. He's got great hands. He runs great routes. He's just the perfect guy for Kyler Murray. Yeah. He's the perfect guy for Kyler Murray. So that's why I got them at number 3. Number 2, I got the Los Angeles Rams. Just like what y'all said, Matt Stafford's that dude. Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, the dudes are freaks. There's Cooper Kupp, Deshaun Jackson, Robert Woods, and Sony Michel. I feel like that was a great pickup right before the season started. When they seen their starting running back went down, they went out and got Sony Michel. And I know it's going to take him a while, to get. I mean, he got traded like week 1, so it's going to take a second. But the dude's. I mean, we've seen him at Georgia. We've seen him with his first couple years with the Patriots. He's a good player. And number 1, they're 1 and 2, but I don't care. The Kansas City Chiefs. And that irks me to say, man. I do not like the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm a Steelers fan through and through, so it hurts me to say the Chiefs are the best team in the league, but they're unguardable when you really think about it. When they're clicking, I don't think they're clicking yet. No. They've had some issues. They can't seem to get everything going at the same time. But, man, when Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and now Josh Gordon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and that defense, man, that defense gets hated on, but that defense got some players on it. They got Frank Clark. They've got the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. Like, they've got some dudes on that defense that can play football. So I think the Chiefs are going to be just fine, and I have them as the best team in the NFL for obvious reasons. Going off of our top 5, we're just going to do some quick in and out Super Bowl predictions right here, right now before the end of the pod. So I'll lead it off. I've got Chiefs, Rams, and I've got the Chiefs winning in a close one. I've got the Rams and the Chiefs. I just think the Chiefs are going to overpower them probably by a touchdown when it comes Super Bowl time. I got Chiefs over Rams. Ross, what you got?
I have the Bucks and the Rams, I think. And I got
those
the Rams
are both NFC
winning.
Teams.
What did I say? Bucks and Rams?
Yeah.
Bucks are AFC, are they not?
Bucks are NFC.
NFC.
Oh, for real?
You got the NFC Championship game there, boss.
All right, then I'll go with you. But I'm definitely going to I got the Rams. The Rams I think they're just too good this year. I think I think Matthew Stafford is just the next level compared to Jared Goff. They took him there a couple years ago, but I don't think the Bucs can handle that offense. The Bucs can handle that offense.
All right, Jax.
I'm gonna go a rematch last year. What we saw last year, man. Bucks Chiefs, and I hate to say it, but I got TB12 winning another one. The dude doesn't age. Superman. That's what TB12 is. Yeah, dude. I'm telling you, he's gonna solidify himself after this season as the greatest athlete of all time. He's not an athlete. He's not a very good athlete, as we've seen in this combine. But you know what I'm saying.
He's the greatest player of all time across any sport, is what you're saying?
Across any sport. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think after this year, Brady. I don't think you can argue with 8 rings. Would y'all not say he wins this one?
No,
wins 8. You can't argue with that, man.
I don't think you can.
In today's league,
yeah,
I mean, Bill Russell, 11 in 1845 against Farmers. I mean, TB12 is playing against legit dudes. You can't argue with it, man.
You know, the only argument you have there is MJ, and it's just because MJ didn't lose. But I think, man, if you put 8 on it, you put 8.
That's hard to beat, man.
You can't.
And 8 coming at 45 or however old he is.
Yeah, he'll be either 44 or 45 years old, winning his 8th Super Bowl.
Yeah,
only quarterback to ever do it, or second quarterback to ever do it with 2 teams. Only quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl at home. Like, the dude's got every single accolade you can imagine. And if he goes and wins his 8th ring, I think it's case closed. Probably just like you, Jax, the greatest player across any sport that we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, that was fun. That's the end of our first pod. I just want to thank everybody for listening. If you guys would please go subscribe, rate, review. We'll be available on anywhere you can get your podcast, Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. We're going to try and get out there to it. If you guys would also, go hit us with a follow on Twitter at Below Av Brothers, at BELOWAV Brothers, and also on TikTok at Below Average Brothers, which is the name of our podcast. If you guys go hit us with a follow there, we're gonna try to get some visual content out with this along with our audio stuff. But thank y'all, and we'll see y'all in a few days.